Welcome to the Hockey Huddle, the ultimate podcast for hockey fans by hockey fans, where we break down the latest on and off ice from power plays to game-changing trades. Whether you're a diehard fan or new to the sport, we've got all the action, analysis, and hot takes you'll need to stay in the game. We'll bring you exclusive interviews with other fans, weekly breakdowns, and everything you need to know from the NHL and beyond. So lace up your skates, grab your stick, and let's drop the puck on today's episode of the Hockey Huddle. Well, here it is, episode number 12. Happy to be with you guys, and we have got a pretty interesting podcast and some obviously exceptionally insightful opinions and thoughts and ideas to share with you this week. Obviously. Really fun topics to talk about this week as well. Jay, I love talking about etiquette, and I was sharing with you earlier about the Calgary-Nashville game the other day, and I was at the game. I have a couple of tickets I had traded in for one ticket, so I was looking for a better seat because only I could go to the game, and I didn't have somebody to go with me that day. So I get this ticket, and I go over, and there's a guy sitting in the seat, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. And so I start walking over, and he's like, hey, is this your seat? I'm like, yeah, that's where I'm sitting. And he goes, look, I got these two tickets with my kids. Do you mind? I'll take this seat. You take my single seat, which I have, which is a few rows away. I was like a few rows away, like in the third bowl, or like I'm thinking to myself, like, what the heck's going to go on?
And where were the seats where you were talking about originally?
21. So
okay.
Row 21.
Yeah.
And he says, I got a seat in row 10. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll have a look
I'll
at
make
that.
that trade.
Just go down. He goes, have a look and see if that works for you. If the sightlines are okay and if that's cool, then great. Then that's, if you don't mind, we'll trade. I was like, you know what? That's cool. I got kids. You got kids. Watch your game with your kids. I go down. Seat's good. Like, you know, no problems with the view whatsoever. Beautiful spot. And there's nobody in the row with me. I'm like, oh, even better. I might get a little space to stretch out in these seats. So anyways, the buddy comes down after the warm up and he says, hey, how's the seat? Can I buy you a beer for the trade? I'm like, no, go enjoy the game with your kids. I don't buy me a beer. You gave me an upgrade, so I had an upgrade, and you upgraded my upgrade, and I'm just gonna enjoy the game. And anyways, he goes back to his seat. He has a good day with his kids. I'm watching the game, and I want to talk a little bit about etiquette because these folks come in. So I'm fifth seat in the row, and this group comes in, and there's a guy and his wife, an empty seat, and another guy. And this guy, like, I don't think that they are like the hardcore fans that you see at the game, because when you go to a Calgary game, pretty much everybody is wearing a Calgary jersey. Pretty much everybody. Like the percentage of people wearing jerseys is very, very high. So these are new fans, first time game, whatever it is. And the etiquette on this one guy sitting beside me, he's got his back to me. So he's sitting, so the fans are kind of sitting like this, and he's sitting like this. So he's got his back like right beside me, and I'm like, this is weird. Like, what are you doing? You're not going to spend the whole game. He's just chatting with his friend, whatever. There's somebody on this side of me, so it's a little tight quarters. I'm not a small dude, so these are nice seats, but I'm also, I'm wider in the shoulders than most of these folks. So anyways, this guy's got his back to me. The game starts, and he's still got his back to me, and they're talking. He's talking to this guy. So it's husband and wife, empty seat, this guy with his back to me, and then a packed row. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? We're like, turn around in your seat, or move over to the seat, like move over to that empty seat, or something, like get out of the way. Anyways, I don't want to tell this guy what the etiquette is, because then I'm the a-hole. Right. And I'm thinking, like, at some point you got to turn around and watch the game. So halfway through the first period, nobody's sitting in the row behind us. The row is empty, so it's row 11. And I'm like, I'm just gonna go get a popcorn. I'm gonna go sit in the aisle seat on row 11 because nobody's here. I move back there, and they start looking at me like, why did you move? Like, why aren't you sitting in our row anymore? And funny enough, the guy that was on the other side of me he's like, he's kind of like, I get it. He's looking at me like, I understand. Yeah. He's cool. Him and his son stretch out a little bit. Buddy beside me spends the entire game that was beside me. Yeah. I say the entire game. The majority of the game sitting sideways in his seat, not watching the game, in the 10th row of the rink. Why are you sitting in the 10th row if you're not watching the game, one? And what do you have to talk about for 3 periods of hockey to whoever while the crowd's loud and the game's going on? And, like, come on.
That makes no sense. Whenever I go to a game, so that you check your surroundings and stuff like that, and usually anybody who's like right in front of you or to the side of you or maybe even behind you, you kind of like make friends. You know what I mean? You observe the crowd, you see if you're wearing the same jersey. If you're not, you kind of have a little bit of a chat, and and then when your team scores, you high five everybody. Everybody's having a good time, right? And even if they're not a fan of the same team that you're cheering for, you still got to respect those people. I mean, when you go to a hockey game, you look around if there's kids, you watch your language. There's all these different things that you do or don't do. But as a human, you make the best decision to watch it like you're watching with your entire family. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's really what you should look at. You should get the security guard. What was that guy's name? Biff, who was at that New Year's party with you, buddy. Just
Biff. Yeah,
come.
yeah, it was Biff. Yeah.
Yeah, get that guy to come down and grab this guy and go, get out of here, buddy. Get out.
I think his name was definitely Biff, and they had the aisle ushers, and our aisle usher was amazing. So she had a wonderful fedora on. She had Flames logo on one cheek. I think
Mm-hmm.
she had Blasty on the other cheek. She had a cowbell, and usually the ushers are just kind of up and down, and they don't really say anything. This one she was a lovely person, ringing
That's
her bell,
beauty.
getting people excited about the game, cheering. Loved it. She was great. It was awesome.
That's cool. Hey, I
You
didn't
know,
get a chance to tell you this, but I had somebody who found us on the podcast, and he came in to talk to me about your New Year's party that you were attending or not attending, and he said that he wasn't sure what kind of podcast this was, and they started listening, and then we had a good laugh about it. But he said he wished it went the other way. You should have let your kid just stay out all night. But anyways, that's another story.
if it was up to him, he would have, and he
He
was
would
going the
have.
right direction. Oh yeah, he's man, what a guy. That was
That's hilarious.
as a parent, and somebody had asked me as a parent, like, what were you thinking? Like,
Mm-hmm.
did you not like that? Did you like that? And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's my son, and he was meeting new people, and he was off
Yeah.
to have some amorous
Yeah.
interlude with
Yeah.
some fine young people, and I thought, hey, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Good for him. He's having
Yeah.
a good time. Anyways, hey.
Now, weird thing. What was he was playing in that game that this guy was side blocking you before he had to change seats 3 times?
Yeah,
Who?
Calgary,
Calgary
Nashville.
versus Nashville.
Nashville Predators. Interesting little team the Predators have, and they in the standings. Like, if you look at where Predators are in the standings, they are not having a great year. I think they're second
Mm-mm.
last in their division, and the lineup they have, like, they are front loaded with some talent. Like, they have got some guys on that team, notably Steven Stamkos. So
Mm-hmm.
Steven Stamkos may be one of the elite scorers of the past 10 years. This guy is a legend. To me, he's a legend of the game. Like, he was so good for so long. He's a step behind. Like, he's definitely a step behind the play. When the puck's not on his stick, he's not really in there. He's kind of like Nazem Kadri, where Kadri
Mm-hmm.
really doesn't forecheck. And that was in the first period. But when the puck's on his stick and when he starts controlling the play, he is not a step behind. Like, this guy is as good as he ever was and dangerous. And I'll tell you, there was a couple of points. So they've got a line. So it's Stamkos, Forsberg, and Marchessault on a
Mm-hmm.
line. A good line, ton of talent. It is definitely a one-line team in Nashville. But I'll tell you, Philip Forsberg was better than everybody else on the ice. Everybody. He was so good.
He's talented, that guy. Almost as talented as his mustache, man. What a great stash this guy has, right? Modern day, who'd you say, Lanny McDonald?
Modern day Lanny McDonald. The mustache on that guy. Woo-wee. Buddy, that is a good... And I'm going to use some hockey slang here, and we're going to have some fun with hockey slang in the next couple of pods. But that guy has got a beauty lip salad. That thing was wonderful.
So now, what separated him, buddy? Like his actual speed or IQ. He knew he was going to where the puck was going before it gets there. He just was a cerebral player. What really separated Forsberg from everybody else on the ice? Would you say?
Check all those boxes.
Yeah,
His speed,
okay.
his positioning, his IQ. I think what stands out the most about Philip Forsberg is he is fast and in the right spot, and he's huge. This
Mhm.
he is a big, big dude, and he moves with the speed of a guy much smaller. Like, the guy's got some wheels on him, and oftentimes in the right spot with the puck, taking position, and a big body. Like, good luck. So I think they had Kevin Ball on him all night. Kevin Ball,
Mhm.
defenseman, big guy. I found out actually that Kevin Ball and I think Steven Stamkos skate at the same summer camp. They
Oh,
they
okay.
train in the same. Yeah. Anyways, so Kevin Ball, I think Ball is 6'5" or 6'6", and
Yeah.
trying to take position on Philip Forsberg, who's a big, strong human being. Forsberg was having none of it. He had his way with everybody all night, and was it like
Nice.
this guy could have scored 5 goals, except he couldn't find the net. But
Mm.
yeah,
How,
interesting game.
what did Ryan O'Reilly look like out there? Was
You
he
know what?
slow? Did you even notice him?
Definitely noticed him. Definitely noticed him in front of the net. Love Ryan O'Reilly, man. I loved him with Toronto. I would have got a Ryan O'Reilly jersey in the playoffs. Like, loved what he brought to that team. Great to see him still playing. Not great to
Mhm.
see him on a team that's not playing so great.
Mhm.
But he looked okay. man, he's got some slow boots. Like this guy is
Oh yeah.
not like he is. You and I probably could beat him in a race,
Yeah.
and one of my skates is broken. Like it is not like not
So he's just really
wonderful.
smart. He's really smart positionally, does what he's supposed to do, plays his angles,
Oh
smart
yeah,
that way. Kind of, okay, I gotcha.
and big dude. And he had a couple of runs where he went running down the ice with the puck, and you watch him. He's kind of like a box, like he's a
Yeah.
boxed robot as he's going down the ice, and you're like, this guy has no flexibility, but he's down the ice with the puck making a play. So what the
Okay.
hell do I know? Love Ryan
Yep.
O'Reilly, number 90. Love that guy. You
Yeah.
know what else I noticed in that game, and like weird things. And
Hmm.
normally we talk about injustices right away, but we're gonna
Yeah.
save injustices for a second here.
Okay.
The Flames run this weird power play. So if you look at teams how they run their power play, you get defense set up a box, either do a box or a diamond in a defensive pattern, zone man on man, or some version of zone coverage.
Hmm.
And the Flames run this like 3 high power play. So they have 2 defensemen up on the point, or 2 people up on the point, and a
Hmm.
third guy also up around the blue line, like kind of like
Hmm.
high hash blue line guy, and then
Okay.
2 guys down low. Like you don't have like a guy half on the dasher ready
Yeah.
to hammer in that one time, or you don't have a
Yeah.
big guy in front of the net, which is weird because one, they've got some big guys that they can put in front of the net. Jonathan
Hmm.
Huberdeau is the big dude. You can put him in front of the net, cause some havoc, and score some goals. They've also got some shooters. Like they've got Kadri, Sharangovich, Zari, Huberdeau. Like you got guys who can shoot the puck and hit the net, and put
Hmm.
the puck in the net. But they don't run like a classic like overload style power play.
So when they got the 3 guys up high, like 2 up high and the 1 mid high, the other 2 guys are down by the goal line, and do they collapse into the center when they come to get
No,
the puck to take the shot?
no, they cycle.
Okay.
They cycle the puck around, which is like okay, I get you're trying to get like one guy out of position to kind of make a play, and then you're looking more like a 5-on-3, and you can kind of go from there.
Yeah.
But
Just
I
different.
don't. It's different. It doesn't look right. It doesn't seem effective. And I think I've written in my notes a number of times
Yeah.
over the weeks like this is not an effective power play. And
Okay.
come on, somebody's got to be looking at this going like it's one of the worst power play percentages in the league. You need to
Yeah.
get a guy in front of the net and a guy on the half dasher and start smacking one timers at the net,
Yeah.
or they think something's gonna break. I don't know.
I
Like
don't
it's
know.
buddy, and Uyghur scored a nice one the other night. One of the things about the special teams for Calgary as well, their PK hot garbage. Oh,
Mhm.
buddy, what a dumpster fire their PK has been the past couple of games. Like we talked about putting a chair in net sometimes instead of that goalie
Mhm.
when it's Vladar's time to put in net, just turn
Yeah.
the net over. Like let's not play that game.
Yeah.
That PK the past couple of days, hooey,
It's
stinky.
bad.
Like it is not good. No.
It's like their
It,
power play and their PK is a problem. So whoever the special teams coach is maybe needs to change.
it's not Lanny McDonald, that's for sure.
Okay.
Still the best mustache in the league, followed closely by Philip Forsberg's beautiful lip salad.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Speaking of lip salads, and into one of the worst lip salads in the league, Quinn Hughes.
Mm.
Quinn Hughes is back. And Elias Pettersson's back as well. So Vancouver got a bit of an injection of some talent back in there, which is good because they needed it. We talked about Vancouver last pod and JT Miller and Brock Besser and stuff, but
Mhm.
they've been missing Quinn Hughes and Pettersson. Even though Pettersson's like I don't know, like he's named number 1 on the trade block right now because of that drama that's going on right now.
Well, how's
between
this
Miller.
year doing, buddy? Do you know like how is that team doing? Like who's their leading goal scorer? How is Pedersen doing? I was kind of hoping Quinn and Elias Pettersson didn't show back up until Sunday because we play them tomorrow night,
I know.
right? Good news is we actually finally get someone on the back end of
A back-to-back.
back to back, right? So they're
Thank
playing Carolina tonight, and then we'll get them tomorrow. And oh my gosh, we'll come back to that Carolina game, that Carolina Toronto game. What an interesting episode of that was.
And hopefully Pettersson gives, or hopefully Pettersson, way to go. Hopefully Carolina gives Vancouver a bit of a run. Like,
Mhm.
unfortunately, Carolina's on a bit of a tear right now. Pettersson's got 35 games played this year, 10 goals, 18 assists, and he's a -4. So
Wow.
not great. 19 minutes on the ice. Not the 30 or almost 40 goal season that he should be putting up for that contract. Like,
Right.
I think he's like 11 5 maybe. Like his cap
Yeah.
hit's huge, I
Oh, it's
think.
big. It's a beast. Yeah, no, it
I'm
is for
gonna look
sure.
that one up.
When you're doing that, if you want, we can talk about the Carolina Maple Leaf game and then segue back to the.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Yeah.
last night I'm watching the game, Carolina, Toronto, and for the past, I'd say 5 seasons, Toronto had trouble, what we call starting on time, which is mean showing up to the game, putting in a full effort. Well, this game we're playing in Carolina, and the rink was tilted towards the Carolina net. The Leafs were flying. We had, I think it was like 5 breakaway chances. Nylander was bound and determined to score that 24th goal. He comes down literally a minute 3 in and takes a shot just over the goalie's left shoulder, hits the inside of the post and bounces out. I'm like, oh my gosh. Literally, his next shift, he comes down, he gets a breakaway, full out breakaway. There's nobody around him. Comes in, dekes the goalie, tries to go 5-hole, goalie stops it. Literally, next shift comes down again, and this time he's not to be stopped. He takes a slap shot. Beautiful goal, scores finally. Everybody at the house was watching. We just erupted. At that point, it's now 2-0. And the Leafs are flying. They're playing fantastic. And really, to be against a team like Carolina, Rick and I were talking in the offseason, like they had 2 guys that scored goals for them, and they both left. So they have Mr. Sebastian Aho, and then their next leading goal scorer is Jack Roslovic, who's somebody who was a castaway from, I believe, Winnipeg. They're like, well, we don't need him. We don't care. Anybody can have him. So dude's got 17 goals. So we're watching the game, and Joseph Wall gives up a really terrible goal. It was a shot. The guy was coming in 5-hole, and if you're a goaltender, you put your stick down at the 5-hole. That's what stops it. If the guy makes a perfect shot, you're good. Stick's nowhere to be found, goes right in. So you're like, oh, it was a bit of a stinker. And then 17 seconds later, they score again. By the time the night's finished, ready for this, so Matthews, Marner, and Matthew Nyes were a -17. The top line was on the ice for all 6 of the Carolina goals. One was
Brutal.
an empty netter. Oh, it was terrible. Joseph Wall, I think he took the night off early,
Yeah.
at about like the 10-minute mark in the first period. And I was praying for Stolars, the gods of Stolars, to bring this guy back. We need him back. We need, like, Joseph Wall is good, and he's going to be good, but Stolars, when he's in net, Rick, I just don't ever feel any pressure. I'm like, yeah, go ahead, try and score. Not going to do it. But the thing that really stood out for me with the Carolina game is Carolina plays like they're playing in the playoffs all the time. They bunch the net, they got a bunch of guys there, and they just shoot the puck from the point. And they must have had 3 deflection goals go in, and Joseph Wall was searching the whole night looking for the puck. There was about 6 times during the game, and if you counted, that he actually thought they scored. Where he looked back into the net, he's like, oh, they didn't score. So, and he was overplaying it, so you could tell something was kind of off for Joseph Wall that night.
Yeah, it's tough to see him. He's on a bit of a roller coaster with his performance this year, and as good as the duo has been, Stolars is driving that. Stolars is driving a lot of that success, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Wall's pushing Stolars when he's in the net, but I think it's Stolars' net to have, and that duo has to be like Wall's got to push Stolars, and Stolars is going to be the reason that they get into round 2, 3, 4, whatever it is that they're gonna produce this year.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's been a ton of back-to-back games, and the season's like you're dragging through the season now, right? You're in the kind of that middle, like the you're kind of dragging yourself through the season a little bit right now, trying to get through
Mm-hmm.
these middle 30, 40 games, and I think that Wall's just I'm sure he's tired. I'm sure he's feeling the pressure too, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have Stolars there in case something goes wrong, so the pressure's on him. This is also the time when like Stolars is hurt,
Mm-hmm.
but Wall also gets hurt this time of year. Like that's kind of concerning me a little bit.
Yeah, no, for sure. One other thing, a fan actually did reach out to me, Rick, and I wanted to give you the notes. I just remember I wrote them down. They said that they really enjoyed the podcast, but they really like the gossip part. So,
Oh,
like the stuff like, Pedersen and JT Miller fighting, and they really wanted us to talk a little bit more about that. So, if we have any insight or if we've heard anything to kind of discuss that type of thing, because that's the kind of thing that isn't normally on a podcast, I guess, or like a hockey podcast. So, just so you know, Deb, we're going to do some more research for you, and we'll make
okay.
sure we get back to you.
Perfect. It'll be the Hockey Huddle / the Hockey Gossip.
There you go. Love it.
Hey, I want to move on a little bit and talk about the World Juniors, and we had obviously the U.S. won the World Juniors again, so back to back years the U.S. has
Mm-hmm.
won back-to-back years, Canada's been kicked out in the quarterfinals, and I think that's like we've got a bit of a phenomenon going on here, and that is the U.S. program, the NCAA program right now in hockey is just hitting on all cylinders. Like this thing is buzzing, and they have got some players going on, and I want to maybe talk about this and a bit of that Calder race that's going on. But what's happening in the U.S. right now? Like what's happening in Quinnipiac and Minnesota and Michigan, Boston College and Boston U are turning out like we're talking like first rounders coming out of these schools right now, and they're playing. Macklin Celebrini, like he stepped onto the San Jose roster. Will Smith stepped onto the San Jose roster. Like you got some big name U.S. guys that are playing hockey right now.
No, true. Celebrini's playing so good, I thought he was Canadian, by the way, P.S.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? And no, it's weird. Like we were talking off camera earlier that in the 19 the league was made up about say 70 almost 70% Canadian players. And now when you look at the overall league now, I think the Canadian content's gone down to 50% or maybe even a little bit lower. And a lot of the different regions like the US, the European, but definitely the US is coming on super, super strong. I know they have 10% more people in the US, but we've always dominated in the ice hockey kind of in the sport. Anyways, Rick and I were talking about, I came across one of my old hockey booklets when I was playing hockey, ages 8 through 10, and I believe there was 24 teams in the league. And now, I know we talked about this a little bit before, but there's in the same age group, there's 4 teams. So I don't know what's going on in Canada. Are we diversifying and playing other sports potentially? Is it really costing too much money for the families that are out there? There's a bunch of different reasons why potentially this happened, but I'm not sure. What do you think, Rick?
yeah. I think there's a lot of different factors that are like you and I were talking about the maybe arguably the best basketball player in the NBA right now is Canadian. So
Mhm,
SGA is probably the best basketball player today and Canadian guy. And there's a lot more Canadian content in the NBA. So, people that were elite athletes maybe got directed out of the hockey stream and
mhm,
into, say, professional basketball. There's also a lot of Canadians in pro soccer right now. So
mhm,
if you look over in the Premier League and stuff like that, there's some notable Canadians and some elite level Canadians that are playing professional or like world stage soccer right now. So maybe those people kind of got, soccer is significantly less expensive
mhm.
in youth sports than hockey is. And I remember coaching soccer when I was a kid, and I think we had to pay like $30 for registration and $10 for a jersey, and we bought the kids a pair of cleats or whatever.
Yep.
Versus hockey, which is the $90 we spend on soccer is one shin pad for hockey.
Yeah.
Like it's so expensive. Two, it's a massive business, a multi-billion-dollar business in
Yep.
Canada, and it's so expensive. Like and money. Like look, the way things are going right now, it's not getting any cheaper to live. It's not getting cheaper to play hockey or drive
Mhm.
somewhere. The price of gas is through the roof.
Yep.
And going to that tournament in Pittsburgh or Buffalo as a kid from Ontario, like
Mhm.
that's probably not happening. Like you're probably not going there. If you're in
True.
BC, are you really going to that? Are you going to that tournament in Seattle?
No, not
Probably
anymore.
not. No. And East Coast kids, are you going to like? Is there going to be that big tournament in Boston? So I think that might be part of it. Is one, you got to pay for a hotel. Hotel prices have gone up significantly. They're twice what they
Mhm.
used to be. So hotel. It's gas. Gas is a $1.50 a liter in Canada,
Mhm.
in Alberta today. So I don't want to drive anywhere. I'm not going anywhere to go play hockey. And registration's $1,000 if you're playing high
Yep.
level hockey.
Yep. True. So you're looking at like hockey versus soccer. It's 10 times more expensive to play hockey than it is to play soccer.
Right. And do you get that elite level athlete who's a youth athlete and they end up in track, a winter sport, skiing,
Mhm.
snowboarding, not hockey because
Right.
a bunch of those sports, skiing is probably very expensive as well.
Mm.
Like I think you end up in one of these streams where, again, and also ice time. Like I don't know about you, but like trying to find ice time for men's hockey here, like we get Friday night at 10 o'clock, we get
Oh,
Saturday
10
night at 10
o'clock. Yeah,
o'clock, 11
you're looking
o'clock.
after 11 o'clock here. There's no way.
Right.
There's no way. And there's probably, I would say, 10 arenas in the greater, well, in the St. Catharines area, right? So there's lots to
Right.
choose from, but there's just not a lot of time.
Right. I
Yep.
think if I think of the best programs I saw for men's hockey or pickup hockey or just kind of random hockey to be played, like if you just wanted to hop on the ice and work on stuff,
Hmm.
Ottawa had a really robust program when I lived there. But other than that, I don't know, it's not really accessible. I also think that like if you look at the U.S., the U.S. program maybe hadn't caught up. Like maybe they hadn't caught up to where Canada was, but they're getting there now. Like you look at some of the elite players in the NHL right now are coming from Phoenix, a market that you probably never would associate with hockey, and now arguably have the best goal scorer in the NHL from Phoenix area, Phoenix, Arizona. And he's not the only one. There's a couple of great talented guys from that area. So hockey now is coming from different areas in the US, but also internationally. So you've got guys like you look at the Latvian team, and we looked at the Latvian team roster. 90% of them play in the OHL or the
Yep.
CHL. They play in the QW, wherever they're playing. But you've got guys that are from all international that can now play in these elite programs, whether it's NCAA programs or the OHL or the CHL programs. And you're playing with guys of higher calibers. And I think that's also driving a lot of successes. You have people pushing you, and you have younger international players pushing you in the US market. And again, it's also easier to get pulled, like drafted out of or not drafted out of the NCAA, because you can sign people as free agents out of the NCAA, where the CHL and obviously there's a drafting program there.
Right.
So, and I think you look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, look at Matthew Nyes. Matthew Nyes is a perfect example. He was an elite level talent, got signed to Toronto, hit the roster, and the guy's making an impact.
He's doing really well. So, question for you, like with regards to the U.S. and the U.S. dominance that's starting to happen right before our very eyes, if they win the Four Nations Cup, what does that mean? Are they now the leaders in hockey because they won the last two? I know your face is saying what I'm feeling. They win the last two juniors, then they win the Four Nations Cup, and then if they win at the Olympics in 2026, what do we do? What do we do then?
It's funny. I was thinking about their position in the dominance of the sports and the Olympic sports, and how we can't give that to them. This can't be a thing that we just let the U.S. have, and they can't take the title as the hockey nation. Can't have it. That is not a thing. That's part of our identity. That's part of the Canadian identity, is being these hockey superstars. And yeah, hey, you're gonna get beat every now and then, and you're gonna have a bit of a spot where maybe our team doesn't perform as well. But this is 2 years in a row.
Right.
And this is 2 years in a row of early exit and underperforming against teams that are, like, historically teams that were in the relegation round. They didn't really make it the next year. They had to fight to get back in the tournament. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I think there's a big portion of that is the fact that Canada also didn't have two of its, like, all-star players who could have played in the tournament but were playing with NHL teams. And Connor Bedard is junior eligible. And Connor Bedard could have been playing for the juniors.
Yeah.
Now, Connor Bedard plays for your team. Connor Bedard.
I love saying that too.
I love saying that. That's a different team.
But there was also they did, but there was also two or three players I think you and I were talking about. The leading scorer in the CHL wasn't even on the team. Wasn't even asked.
Right. Crazy.
And I don't even know if he was the one that tweeted that he was happy when the Canadians lost. I can't remember which Canadian player that was not brought to the team was whatever, putting a smiley face emoji when they lost. Not cool. But anyways, there was like 3 or 4 players that could have made that team. And we've also talked about the team with, who is it, Craig Hartsburg as the coach there, making some bad decisions. Now, was it just him? We don't know, right? Or like he wasn't having practices, was having skates, making some suspect decisions out there. Again, that's easy for us to say now that we didn't win and it happened, right? But we couldn't put the puck in the net, right? Which is what we should have been known for. We were trying to have a balanced attack across everybody, but that's what everybody else is doing. Why are we doing that? Let's be who we are. Let's put the puck in the net. Let's have good goaltending that's going to be able to keep us in the game, and let's just go after it and hit hard. Well, obviously the hitting part was a problem because we got an average of like 9 penalties per game, which is unheard of. Like, come on.
The fix is in.
Right. It was almost like these guys all played lacrosse the year before, and then they went out to play hockey, and they went, "You can't cross check? What are you talking about? That's not legal." Like, it was terrible. Kneeing, you can't knee? What? Yeah.
Well, losing that physical element is also part of the Canadian game. Like that big, tough, rough, net crashing, corner, like, tough corners, tough on the boards. Like that style of gritty hockey also isn't allowed. Like it's frowned upon, I guess, in international hockey. But our team was missing that. Like,
for sure.
The team wasn't gritty, didn't play playoff hockey in every game. It wasn't like that. Apart from a few players, and there was a few that really stood out. Like a Toronto Maple Leafs prospect, a high prospect. He looked, so Easton Cowan looked fantastic in that series, but what are you doing? Like he is not going to win the tournament for you. He's not that skilled guy. And I don't know. I think overall we need to have a look at that program in general.
Yep,
You need to look at
I
who's
agree.
coaching it, who's coaching, who's picking players, who's
Yep.
putting teams together, who's running development, programs, who's making decisions not to have practices and pregame skates. Like, there's a lot of like it's suspect
Hmm.
how this has gone on. So
There was a lot of
uh,
questions.
we're talking about draft picks and who got drafted when and some of the best draft years. We got a Calder race going on right now. If you look at like some of the Calder favorites, and if you're not up to speed on what the Calder is, the Calder
Hmm.
trophy is the rookie of the year, the best rookie for this season. There's a few favorites that are kind of stepping out ahead of everybody else. Macklin Celebrini with San Jose is the favorite to win the Calder trophy this year, best rookie of the year. Lane Hudson's up there, Mitch Koff's up there, but a guy that I think that should be significantly higher in the running and should be the number one, like he should be the front runner for the Calder Cup, Calder Trophy, not the
Hmm.
Calder Cup. Calder Cup's a different trophy. The Calder Trophy is Dustin Wolf, and Dustin Wolf is
Yes.
having a hell of a year, and he's not getting a look one because he's not a forward. He's
Hmm.
not playing up on the forward, but he like as a goalie, it's tough. He's in a tough spot as a rookie. He shares the second best goals against average. I think it's at home with a 937 goals
Hmm.
against average. 937 goals against or save percentage.
That's
937.
it's ridiculous. I think one thing that people need to take a look at and take notice of is if you took Macklin Celebrini off of the San Jose Sharks,
Yikes.
how many wins less would they have? Like three? You know what I mean? Like four, maybe, kind of thing?
They only have
Over
13.
41 games, right? So maybe four. Okay. So Will Smith, he's also there. So if you take him out, maybe one game.
Maybe.
And if you look at Lane Hudson, he's a little jitterbug flying around for Montreal, doing a lot of great things. But if him not there, maybe two games they don't win. But I'm telling you right now, with Dustin Wolf not in Calgary, how many games have they won? Like 20? You can cut that in half. At least 10 of the games that were won was because of him. So
Yep.
that's really a separator for the Calder Trophy. And it's difficult when you look at defense, forward, and goaltending. But if you look at what they mean to the team, it's almost like they're a most valuable player in a rookie position for that team. And I think whoever's out there that can do the voting should definitely look at, with that player not on the team, what's the difference? What would happen to that team without them? So that's why I think Dustin Wolf, I agree with you, Rick, is should be the number one touted player for the for sure.
Well, Calgary's on the outside looking in on the bubble right now, so they're looking at Vancouver is a point ahead of them in the wild card race right now. And
Hmm.
the only reason that they're there is because of Dustin Wolf.
Right.
So, but what's funny about that is it puts Calgary in a bad spot. So it puts Calgary in a position where you're not going to get a lottery pick and you're not going
Hmm.
to get now. Calgary does have an upside. Calgary's got two first rounders again this year. They are draft capital heavy. They've got a ton of good talent in
Yeah.
the pipeline. There's a lot of good things that are happening there. They've got to get rid of a few contracts, and they're going to have to get a little bit worse before they get a little bit better. But you can't be in the mushy middle right now, where you're just in the bubble, and you might like, do you buy a piece at the trade deadline to try and push you over that hump into a playoff spot,
Mm.
or do you go tank style, which is probably the way to go, mind you. Where they are right now in the mushy middle, they're not going to get close to Chicago, San Jose, Nashville. Like, they're not going
Right.
to get down in
They're
that
not going
area
to
where,
fall that far. Yeah.
but they do have draft capital, so they do have
They
some
do.
picks to grab. So it's kind of one of those weird situations where you don't want to be there. You don't want to
Hmm.
be as a rebuild team, kind of in the middle. You want to be tanking, like full on tanking.
Yeah.
But this guy Dustin Wolf is your future. Like, this is the goalie for the next 5 years.
Hmm.
So you either need to speed up and get these guys ready and get ready to win in 2 or 3 years, or 3 or 4 years, or you need to start. You got to sell your parts. You got to
So
sell
who?
the parts and
So what do they need to do? So what would Calgary need to do to add to that team to take them to that next level? Right? Do they need somebody else who can
you
put
need
the
a
puck in
center.
the net?
Yeah. You need a goal scoring center. Huberdeau is scoring goals, but he's not
Hmm.
scoring a ton of goals.
Right.
Kadri's scoring goals, but he's not like Kadri is like literally a one-way player. You
Hmm.
just lost Connor Zary, so Connor Zary's out with a potentially a destroyed MCL. Mind you, they
Oh.
did do an MRI. Well, they did an MRI and they said there's
Okay.
no tear,
No damages.
nothing of note. So
Okay.
maybe it's just very, very sore, and they're just going to kind of get rehab it and get him back. But
Okay.
they need a center because Zari is the center of the future for them.
Right. Right.
But he's not there right now.
No.
They need a guy. They need a center who can put the puck in the net. And
So
it
who's out?
looks
Who's out there? Do you know, like, on what
mm,
team? Like,
Henderson.
there you go. Like Calgary's made, I almost said we. Calgary's made Vancouver a good trading partner, and they gave them Zadorov. They've, Markstrom. Like they've traded with each other. You know what I mean? There's not as much hate between Calgary and Edmonton as there's Calgary and Vancouver, right? Or Toronto, Vancouver. But they've been some pretty good trade partners. They should get together and figure out what they need to do to make something happen, right?
Well, the teams hate each other. Like, they absolutely hate each other. And
Mm-hmm.
going like when I like they played the New Year's Eve game. It was great. It was a chippy game. The box was full of players.
Oh yeah,
The
that's right.
entire
That's right.
second period. Right. So I don't know if they would make that trade. I know that they want to move Elias Pettersson. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is like what goes back. Like what do you
Mm.
send? What are you sending back for Pettersson? Because they're gonna want some young talent. They're gonna want something out of that rebuild that you're trying to save for and trying to keep flowing into the system.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where you're probably better off to sell some parts. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're probably looking at like Rasmus Anderson getting traded at the deadline. You're probably looking at
Kadri.
Can Kadri go somewhere? Can Huberdeau go somewhere? And
Yeah.
they've got these guys. So they just called up the top scorer in the AHL right now plays for the Calgary Wranglers. Just
Mm-hmm.
got called up for tomorrow's game against LA.
Nice.
Right. So they've got this young talent down there.
Okay.
Just if it's me and you're in rebuild mode, you need to be in rebuild mode,
Mm.
and you need to say, okay,
What,
we
two,
love you
3 more
guys.
years? 2, 3 more years in rebuild, or you can't
I
go too much more because then you stretch Wolf out, you stretch Zari out, you stretch some of these other players, right? So that's kind of what you got to look at. You got to look at maybe two
Coronado.
years. Yeah.
Coronado's a guy where he's 22 years old, and you're going to want to have him on a winning team. And as long as I guess the team needs to buy into, we're not going to be great in the next couple of years. But I think they're so like the character on this team is so like it's such a high amount of character, and they're so like they play such blue chip hockey, and they're always in every game. Like
Mm-hmm.
every game I've seen them play, they're in it and they're playing hard and they're trying to win. And it's not a team that wants to tank. It's a team that's in a rebuild, but still is like we're gonna win. We're gonna try to win.
Right.
Like the compete level is so high, and like I realize I'm pumping the tires on the team here a little bit
Mm-hmm.
when really they should be in rebuild mode, but it's fun to watch. Like as a fan, it's fun to watch how gritty and tough this team is and the character they have. So, well, shit, what do I know? So
Yeah, it's tough. It's sort of like when you're hoping for your team to lose so they can get a better draft pick, but you can't because your heart won't let you.
right,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? Yeah, I
So
gotcha.
speaking, so we were talking about some players and some potential trade moves, and I thought it'd be cool to do like maybe, hey, we're halfway through the season, and
Yeah,
there's some players out there that we can give a bit of a scorecard to, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on a couple. And I want to start with Austin Matthews and kind of get
sure.
your score on Matthews and what do you think of his season so far?
Okay, so if we look at him and you want to grade A, B, C, D kind of thing, that kind
I
of
think so.
okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, Austin Matthews goes from scoring 69 goals to putting it all in to saying that he's going to be healthy and ready to go for the season, and then he's not healthy. So is that on the player? Is that on his training? Is that just a freak accident? But overall, I mean, it's sort of like a well. When you start pumping that well and the water keeps going up and up and up and it's about to come out, and then all of a sudden he gets injured again. So the water stops, right? So I think if you look at Austin Matthews, because he hasn't been playing in the whole season, it's difficult to give one of the best players in the league an overall A rating. I would say I would rate Austin Matthews potentially a B, only simply because he doesn't, he hasn't been there the whole time. And so it's his body, it's up to him. I think he knows what he needs to do to keep himself running the entire time. So I put, bad luck and that kind of on him. So overall, if I give him a ranking, I'd say a B for Austin.
So I disagree with you a little bit. I think for me he's a C plus. I was kind of between a B minus and a C plus, and
Yeah,
that injury is kind of hurting him and holding him back. And he is dominant injured. Like the guy is very good injured, but
yeah,
he's not been good enough. And I think looking at his performances, I'd say C plus, but on the upward swings.
okay,
Hopefully by the 3/4 point of the year,
yeah,
he is a B, and by the
yeah.
time playoffs come around, he's back to the A. And I think that could be a difference maker. What do you think about Mitch Marner? What would you give? What kind of score do you give him?
Oh man, like dude's an A. He's like an A, like not an A, almost an A plus, only
Yeah,
simply because there's still games where things don't kind of go his way, and he keeps, he's like an artist. He keeps trying and trying, and he'll try different things, but God, he's so smart. When you see him out there with the puck, like you see him look and you see he sees he's got to flip a pass over two sticks and land on the other guy's stick in full motion. He does it all the time. It's not like he did that one time. He continues to make these unbelievable plays. And the thing that really made him an A for me is that he's shooting now. He's scoring more goals, and the only thing that would make him an A plus is if he actually learned how to grow a mustache. Because, dude, you know what? Get rid of that. What is that? Like they showed a camera view, and I'm like, dude, are you trying to grow that? Like, I don't know, get some Menon Grecian formula or whatever, like wax that thing up, dye it or something. But if you had the mustache, I'd say Nick.
Wow. Okay. Uh,
Maybe an overshare, but hey, what are
no,
you gonna do?
I get it. No, it makes sense. Yeah.
You
You
know, because
gotta,
you know what I'm talking about with that
you gotta
non-stash
have,
there going.
gotta have the good mustache. I get it.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
So Mitch has got 59 points. He's got 14 goals, 45 assists.
Hmm.
He is fourth in the league in scoring, but he's also 2 points away from being second in the league in scoring behind Nate. So it's McKinnon, Draisaitl, Rantanen, and Mitch Marner, and he's ahead of this guy at Edmonton. I don't know if you heard of him, Connor McDavid.
I have heard of him.
Ahead of him by a point. I think Mitch for sure is an A, bordering on an A plus for me this year. I'm with you. He's shooting again. I think he's got to shoot a bit more. He's
Hmm.
got to, I'd love to see the assists and goals kind of balance out a bit. Like I'd love to see him at
More
like a
goal to assist
20-40.
ratio. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
the
with you.
better ratio. But having a hell of a start of the year, and he's doing it in the right year. He's in a contract year,
Yeah,
so like
and
he's
out of all those players you've named, not one of them is even close to a great penalty killer like he is. He
no.
is unbelievable. Like he anticipates, he goes out, stops a puck coming across. Like as a penalty killer, wow. Like wow. Like that's not talked enough about for Marner. He is so super smart. The only thing I'd like to see him do a little bit more if he's out there with Matthews, take that chance and go for that shorthanded goal. You know what I mean? Like they're out there to stop and stuff like that, but how many shorthanded opportunities have the two of them had out there? Not as many as I would like. But that's the only thing. I mean, like, there's not a lot to say that he needs to improve upon. And I'm just trying to say, why don't you be a little more superhuman? You know what I mean?
I,
Like, it's unbelievable how he plays that PK, buddy. It's wow.
he
Really
he
is.
is he's a magician, and he's got like he's the way he intercepts pucks, and he's not that big crash and bang guy, like, but he is so talented, and like
Hmm.
I don't think it's unsung for him. Like I think it's very well known that he is a skilled defender and a skilled PK artist, and obviously he's turned on the Jets this year, and he's on the offensive side of the game as well. So
Hmm.
hey, love that guy. He's gonna get
Yep,
paid, that's for sure.
for sure. I agree. 100%.
What do you think about Morgan Riley?
Oh, buddy. Morgan, man, you break my heart, bud. We meet you, see that they say you don't want to, meet your heroes or talk to them. The guy's salt of the earth. He's such an amazing person. He says all the right things, steps in and gets his head pounded by anybody. He'll cross-check you in the face, take 5 games, lose the money. And he was such an amazing player all up until this year. And I don't know what's changed. Like, is it Craig Berube's game? Is it that he's slowed down? Is he's making bad choices? Is he second guessing himself? But he should be 1-2. He's like a 5-6. He's playing 5-6 minutes. He's playing with Philip Myers. Philip Myers just signed a 2-year extension for $875, dude.
Mhm.
He's $7.5 million. He's playing 5-6 minutes. Like, I don't know. Did somebody else give up on him? Are they trying to like preserve him his minutes? But he's a C, and I'm only saying that because I like the guy. Like it's not good. It's
I
not
think
good.
his plus minus is hurting me in the feelings. That is just tough for me to see, and he's not having a good time. Love the guy as a person. He's like
Hmm.
an amazing dude, and I feel for him because he's probably feeling this. Like he's probably
For sure, he
feeling
is.
like, oh, like why can't I get this together? Still scoring a goal. Scored a nice goal the other night.
Yep. Beauty
You know,
goal in the overtime.
beauty goal.
Fantastic.
What an overtime winner that was.
Yeah.
But man, has he had a tough go this year. And
Hmm.
you said it a couple pods ago where he's not with someone. He doesn't have a partner. Like he doesn't
Hmm.
have that one person that he's with, and there's not good chemistry. And I don't know he's got to be in his bonnet or something. But I'm with you. He's a C. I think maybe like I'm being
C
generous on
minus.
this.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
am too.
yeah.
Possible. Well, like they put him with Tanev last night, and Tanev is like a shot blocking, puck eating kind of guy.
Yep.
And you figured he let Morgan Riley be freewheeling out there, but
No.
together they were terrible. They took him off in the second period. They're like, you can't play with him. It's
Right.
not working. Like Jake, they were saying that he's not thinking at the same speed as Jake McCabe. Not that he's not faster than Jake McCabe, but just the way that his mind's processing the game. Something's not right. Something's not computing.
Yeah.
Someone needs to talk to him. Like I don't know. It's a problem.
I'll call him. I'll give him a
Okay.
buzz. Just
Call
ring
him
up
for sure.
and, yeah, just
Yeah.
pump him up a bit. Anthony Stolars, what's your grade?
Plus. I was not expecting this guy. You know, the unexpected. I'm like Anthony Stollers. I go, that guy played. He was signed by Philadelphia, then played in LA, and then went to Florida. Who? Like, you didn't really know a lot about him.
Didn't have 100 games.
No, not at all. But oh my gosh, what a beauty this guy is, man. Making saves, playing positionally, and everybody said he's finally coming into his own. And then he gets the pebble. Oh my God, the dreaded pebble. Like, why? Why? Yeah, A plus. I'm very, very happy with him. You know, I couldn't have wished for a better goaltender, you know, coming in with us. So very, very happy.
927 save percentage. He's an A plus for me. He has been such an amazing surprise for the team this year. Love the guy. Love his attitude too. Like really enjoy his attitude. The last name I got on my list is my best friend, my BFF, my bestie, my ride or die, John Tavares.
Johnny T.
Johnny T. JT. What do you give him? My kids call him Uncle John.
There you go.
Yeah. What's your grade for John Tavares? What do you give him?
Okay. So, I mean, if you take away the previous 3 games, the most recent 3 games, I would say an A plus. And the only reason I'm saying this is because he's had a bit of brain farts that kind of going on where he was coming out with a puck and the guy stole it picked his puck and went down and scored. That was Pasternak that did it in that Boston game. He's made a couple defensive lapses. Like when I say a couple, like maybe 3. You know what I mean? And I can't remember any other ones he's made all year. So, I mean, besides recency bias, I would say that John's an A for sure. And he's trending, you know, if he can get up to that 47 goal mark, which is the most goals he's ever scored with Mitch Marner, he's done half this year without Marner. You know what I mean? I think he's playing amazing, and we need to sign this guy. The Rangers, Kitchener Rangers, or regular Rangers, you're not getting him. He's signing with us, and he's probably going to sign, I would say, you know, around 5, somewhere in that area. And then if you would have signed the guy for a 2-year or 3-year, maybe you sign him for a 4, just to spread it out. But he's an amazing person. He's a guy that, you know what I mean, there's no highs, there's no lows. It's just the way John goes. He's amazing.
You are a poet, and you didn't even
know it.
There we go, buddy. Wow. So here's my take on John Tavares. 42 games played this year, 20 goals, 22 assists, 42 points. He is 1 point per game. Again, he's a +4. He's playing 18-ish minutes a night, which is right in the sweet spot for him.
Yep.
And my favorite stat about John Tavares this year is he's got 6 game-winning goals this year. Beautiful. That's exactly what you want from this guy.
Yep.
He is, for me, like expectations-wise. So when you look at his year last year and you look at his year this year, from an expectation standpoint, to me, he's an A+.
Yep.
I would grade him right now as minus the last 3 games haven't been great,
yep.
but I definitely rate him as an A. And an A with a little asterisk saying like he has been just above expectations from the previous year. But I think he's back to playing at the right level. So he's back to playing where he should be playing, where he had a bit of that dip the past year. And for the Leafs, for me, like if I gave the Leafs an overall score, I think there's, you know, I wasn't expecting. The Leafs have this habit of, you know, they're in first place for a couple of games and they're back out of first place, and they end up kind of in, you know, this weird third place dance, second place, third place dance in the playoff standings. But they're out in front. Like they're out in front right now by a couple of points. They're ahead of Florida, I think, by 4 points as of
4
today.
Points. Yeah.
It's Friday as we're recording. I think they're in that spot right now. And Toronto is in a spot where goaltending's working. Tavares is going. Mitchie's going. Tanev's been great. Like, I got to rate the Leafs an A.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to jinx anything and knock on wood, but I think they are, I call them an A right now. And I think there's a couple teams out there that have been terrible. Toronto's not one of them. Toronto has looked good, and they're not the best in the league. I think they're sitting 5th or 6th overall in total points right now.
Yep.
Buddy, that's an A for me. Good
I
on you. Great job by the Leafs.
I agree, buddy. And I mean, their plus minus for goals overall is like plus 14, 15 kind of thing. They've been staying in all the games. I think they've won 17 of 18 games when leading after 2 periods. They're playing playoff hockey already, which is fantastic. And the one thing you got to remember, who was the guy that scored the overtime winner to win the Leafs their first playoff round in forever years? Johnny T.
John Tavares. Yep.
He's here for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And so
The guy's
I
clutch.
agree.
Clutch.
Very clutch. And I agree with your assessment of the team as well. And as much as we try not to just it's our favorite team, so we want them to do well, we do. But they've earned it. They've earned it in so many different ways. I agree.
They have. Yeah, it's been fun to watch. It's exciting as a fan to see them in the position that they're in. Yeah, it's going to be great. I think we're kind of at that point in time where we're going to wrap up the pod. Next week, we potentially have a visitor to the podcast, and I haven't told you this yet, but potentially we have somebody who just went to their very first Toronto Maple Leafs game and has an amazing story to tell about their experience, including a little bit of love from the aforementioned Mitch Marner. So there's
love it.
Yeah, so we'll tease that a little bit coming up on the next week's pod. We're definitely going to bring somebody on to chat about their experience. And one other thing we got coming up is I was talking with somebody the other day, and they had mentioned they were listening to our pod, and they had asked what -6 meant. What does that number meant? And I was like, what do you mean? It's plus minus. Like, what do you mean you don't know? And realized that, wait a second, there could be some people who don't understand some of the slang and some of the the stats we're talking about. So we're going to have a little fun explaining some stats and like what different metrics mean. And I want to get into some slang. So, and the person I was talking to specifically, when I said that person was a -4, they're like, what the hell is a -4? What does that mean? And if you don't know hockey slang, you don't know what a -4 is. And I'm just saying words assuming you know what that means. So we're going to explain some of that stuff. And I've got some interesting video to share. Probably not this week, but in a few weeks. I got some interesting video to share as I asked some people what they thought different slang terms meant around the league. So we're going to give you a bit of a guide on what some of the slang and what some of those stats mean. So Jay and I are going to have some fun doing that.
Absolutely.
As always, connect with us. Apple Podcasts, Podbean, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Check us out. Check out our shorts. Check out the TikTok videos. Watch the entire pod on YouTube. You can hear the whole thing, and you can download it on a ton of different areas. But appreciate you listening and appreciate you watching, and I hope you all have a great week.
See you there, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to the Hockey Huddle and hanging out with us through all the slap shots, big hits, and highlight reel plays. Whether you're a diehard fan or just getting into the game, we appreciate you being part of our hockey family. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and hit us up on social media with your thoughts, questions, or hot takes. We love hearing from you. Until next time, keep your stick on the ice, your head up, and we'll catch you in the next period. Take care, everyone.